related company. What the hell is going on in Ring of Honor?
All right, so, and actually the Observer that just came out reported this too. George Carroll was fired. Who?
Yes, for anybody that doesn't know who the hell is George
Okay,
Carroll?
so he is a production guy. I hesitate to call him a front office guy, but he was a production guy. But the reason this is significant is he was both an ally of Delirious and an idea man for Delirious, an unofficial idea man, but also a guy who was very popular among the talent. So the talent are not happy that this guy's gone. This was reported in the Observer today. His own George Carroll's Twitter feed, he alludes to something cryptic from yesterday about moving on to the next chapter or whatever the hell it said. I'm paraphrasing. So he's gone, but there's a lot of moving parts behind the scenes in terms of why that's important. There's power struggles going on in terms of most people figure for various reasons that Hunter Johnston's days as the booker are very much numbered. Number one, the lack of booking direction. Number two, talent. There's a lot of talent that doesn't like him very much. Just general disorganization. And there's been people jockeying for position to replace him for quite some time now. A guy who's moving up the ladder rather rapidly is Kevin Kelly, of all people, who he sort of took over, I guess, a month or two ago. He took over Judge Jeff Jones's job of being the travel liaison, I believe is what
I guess so.
Jones
Yeah, I don't know
doing.
what you would call it. Yeah, whatever.
And
the
Jeff
secretary, travel secretary, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, but basically, guy, helping out with the travel.
And Jeff Jones also handled like media relations too. We know that because we've dealt with him. So
he didn't. He did it. Not great a job of that, at least in our reference. But hey, wasn't that talking about, buddy?
No, I mean personally, we had a bad experience with him. But
yeah,
but I mean, and now Kelly has sort of slipped into that role, and the idea here is that sort of Kelly was the one who wanted George Carroll nudged out of the way. There's a good chance that Kevin Kelly, from what we understand, may end up being the booker. He might be the guy who ultimately replaces Delirious. Now, Delirious is very tight with Joe Koff. Joe Koff is a big fan of Delirious. Now, look at it from the office's point of view.
Right, which is very important to do. Get out of the wrestling bubble for a sec.
Okay. Say whatever you want about Ring of Honor and their booking and, and all of that.
Creation of new stars, their calling of American independent talent.
Forget all that.
Right.
They've done their best business with who as the booker, Rich?
Delirious.
Okay. And if you want to hammer Delirious for not creating new stars, if you want to hammer Delirious for, the TV not matching up with what's going on in the house shows, if you want to hammer Delirious for bad booking decisions, if you want to hammer Delirious for main events that have bullshit finishes, that's all fair and it's all well and good. But you also have to give Delirious credit. Okay. Yeah, you could say, oh, well, it's New Japan where they're drawn. Well, the booker decides those things. He decides who he wants to work with. It was his, you got to give him credit for working with New Japan and recognizing that that's going to draw. And they have done their best business under him. So from the front office's point of view, all that people like Joe Koff and the Sinclair people see are record attendance figures in all of their markets during this guy's run. So now get back into the bubble. Now, as wrestling insiders and people who follow it closely, we all see the warning signs of why this is a house of cards, though. Because we see that, okay, sure, while they've drawn big houses with New Japan, they haven't used that to their advantage to create new stars. Who's the burgeoning new star in Ring of Honor right now? I mean, you can't name him. I mean, they just have done a poor job. And we know that this is all a house of cards, that when the New Japan thing, which they continue to go to that well, eventually it's going to wear itself out and it's not going to be a novelty anymore. And the houses are going to start, and we're already starting to see signs of some of the markets coming down. And that's going to continue to happen. And we all know that. But for people who haven't studied wrestling their whole life or been wrestling fans their whole life, all they see is all the good that's happened under this guy. So Joe Koff is very loyal to Delirious, and I think it was described to us that it's like a father-son thing almost. He's just very fond of him. So it's not been easy. If this were someone else with the level of discontent among the talent, which we've been talking about that for months here, and a lot of people doubted it and everything. But every time someone's contract is up, they seem to leave. Rich.
Right. Yeah. It's not an accident. I mean, this is a great week as well, because I mean, next week will be the final Ring of Honor show for Roderick Strong. Of course, he finished up a few weeks ago, but this will be the final appearance on Ring of Honor TV. Moose just moonwalked onto TNA television. Like, they don't retain their talent. When the talent's contract is up, they go. They don't come back. Like, Silas Young, yeah, but like guys that have any sort of state, are in any sort of position, they're leaving. They're gone without any hesitation either. Yeah. Like, that's the important part. It's not like, oh man, Ring of Honor was neck and neck and like they're out of there and they're gone and they're leaving and they don't look back.
Yeah, and there's this George Carroll was very popular with the wrestlers, and Meltzer actually reported in the Observer. Among them were, he was apparently the brains or part of the brains behind the Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish team. And you remember that, previous to Red Dragon, both of those guys were basically charisma black holes. They were guys who were considered really good workers and everything. But until that team, I mean, did they have any charisma individually? I mean,
no.
None. So just anecdotally and just based on, Dave reporting that George Carroll was one of the people behind helping them with that gimmick, I mean, you could see why the talent would like a guy like that. He was described to us as an idea man. So, but there seems to be this idea that it could have been some sort of power play by people who eventually want to slide into that Booker role because they know the heat is on to sort of get rid of that guy because they know that he was an ally of Delirious. He's one of the rare people in the front office who was an ally of both Delirious and the talent, because a lot of the talent does not like Delirious. He has made numerous promises to talent that haven't come through in terms of title runs and everything and things of that nature that we've been hearing about for months and months and months. And talent, and
you could just see it on the outward. You could just see it from the way guys work too. I think it's an obvious thing that these are guys that are capable of probably doing a lot more, but at times can be seen kind of going through the motions. I mean, I think that's a very clear indication as well.
Yeah, and talent fleeing left and right as soon as they have the opportunity as well. So, but Kevin Kelly seems to be the guy to keep the eye on here. Your friendly neighborhood commentator, he's sliding up the ladder, and Carroll's out, and Jeff Jones seems to be sliding down the ladder, and the heat is still on with Delirious. But a lot of speculation was when Joe Koff retires, maybe someone would come in and finally get rid of Delirious out of that role at least. Whether he leaves the company entirely or not is who knows. It's kind of hard though. It's kind of like in sports where if you're like the head coach of a football team, right? They don't fire you and then let you run the special teams. You kind of have to go. They
kind of wash you away. They kind of have to hose you down. Like you kind of have to wash that entire thing from it, because then it's always kind of weird if you're like
still lingering around and
right. Because you're gonna give idea like the players. You might have some guys that still have your ear. You know what I mean? Like that causes an even bigger power struggle, because there might be those few guys that really liked you and now you're on the special teams, but then they sort of say, hey, let coach know that you want to do this, or hey, you guys should be doing this. You don't want that, because that's not good. That's bad for the old power.
But from what we were told, if it does happen, they're saying that he might be just moved to a different area of the company. That has nothing to do with the creative end.
And we've seen that in wrestling. I mean, it's happened in wrestling. I don't know if it's happened or if it's worked in wrestling. Plenty of times wrestlers would be bookers for a little while and then go back, and I don't know if it works, but it's interesting. But I think that the key there is, at least you and I are probably saying, we come at it from the bubble standpoint of, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. You have to remember Joe Koff, who this is not his only thing that he does. Like, I think people have to remember that as well. He doesn't sit there and go, okay, how's Ring of Honor going? All right, there we go. Like, from his standpoint, he looks at the bottom line and goes, wow, okay, business is doing well. This is doing well. We're global. We're going to Japan. We're doing these shows. We're doing that sort of stuff. Cool. I'm good. Ratings are pretty solid on TV. All right. Yeah, that's fine. Like, he doesn't know that they're not culling the American indies for, top tier talent or whatever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's not involved in that. That's irrelevant to him. So I think we get this idea that, oh my God, why is Delirious still there? I can't believe he's still there. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I mean, there's a lot there, but it's getting interesting.
Here's the problem, though, if you're Delirious. If they do say, look, we're going to make a booking change, but we'd like you to stick around, maybe as a wrestler, maybe as, I don't know, what was suggested to us, that he would run the training facility, I think.
Yeah, like dojo guy kind of guy. Yeah.
Like from his point of view, do you want to just be one of the boys at that point? I mean, even
No,
from that standpoint, you'd think, okay, now I got to show up to this locker room, and and now I'm just a wrestler, and I have to work with these guys who, a lot of them were upset with my, with the later stages of my run, and didn't want me there to begin with, but now I have to work. That's uncomfortable too.
Right. If you step down on your own and go, hey, look, I don't really want to do this or whatever, then you can kind of slide back there. But if it's like, hey, everybody hates you, so you're a wrestler now, like those people still hate you, right? Like they don't instantly go, oh, geez, well, I just hated the way you booked wrestling, but hey, you're a good guy. Like I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of because it's not just that. There's a little bit more than just I don't like the way you book wrestling involved with Delirious as well.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, people have a lot of gripes with him. Just his I guess management style and his availability to hear people out, and that was sort of this George Carroll's role was sort of the liaison between Delirious and the talent, and that's Kevin Kelly's role now, and that completely changes the dynamic because Kevin Kelly and Delirious, from what I understand, aren't really on the same team the way that Carroll and Delirious were. So and they all have different allies in the locker room. It's so again. A lot of turmoil at Ring of Honor, nothing changing over the last few months. The one thing that I find interesting is they keep getting pounded on for being so submissive to New Japan's demands. And we all know that these New Japan wrestlers come in and they never lose to the Ring of Honor wrestlers. And that's a big problem that I sort of alluded to earlier, whereas they haven't taken advantage of this New Japan relationship by slowly creating new stars off of New Japan's back. It's when you really think about it, who has benefited most in terms of a piece of talent from the Ring of Honor New Japan relationship? The answer is Michael Elgin. And he left Ring of Honor in the dust and signed on full-time with New Japan.
Right, yeah.
So it's like he's benefited more than anyone from this. And Ring of Honor really hasn't done anything to create a new star. Who have they positioned to get in the ring and get a huge win over, I don't know, just name your guy, Kazuchika Okada, assuming I'm sure he's been here at times where he wasn't champion and losing was realistic, right? You're not going to let the IWGP Heavyweight Champion lose on a Ring of Honor show. I get that, but these guys aren't always. Nakamura's never been champ, and it's like he was around, and Tanahashi, and who have they positioned to beat those guys and to then springboard them to stardom? Ring of Honor hasn't done it, and that's a big problem. With that said, everyone wants to say, oh, well, New Japan's just bullying them, this or that. Maybe that, or New Japan, maybe they're being unreasonable. Here's the thing, though. I just saw the never champion lose clean as a sheet in the middle of the ring at
Right.
Rev Pro.
Yep.
I just saw their Intercontinental champion lose in CMLL. I just saw their junior champion lose clean as a sheet on a live internet broadcast in CMLL. It's not as if New Japan isn't open to their guys losing, okay? I understand none of these guys are Okada or Tanahashi or any of that, but none of these guys lose in Ring of Honor. And that proves to me that it's not a case of New Japan just throwing down the hammer when they farm their talent out and saying, look, we're not losing under any circumstances. 3 of their champions just lost in the span of a week in other promotions. So, Rich, this is my theory, and this has been my theory for a while. And one of the people that's close to the situation who talks to us suggested this to us as well earlier today. Kadani keeps talking about touring the United States on his own. I feel like New Japan is bullying Ring of Honor, and they don't want their guys to lose in Ring of Honor because I feel like they're just using Ring of Honor.
Oh yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's
it's
obvious.
American fan base. And then
success, yeah, it's so far successful.
And then just toss Ring of Honor aside and run their own tours. And if that's the case, and if that was the long-term plan all along, yeah, you wouldn't want your guys losing to the Ring of Honor guys because very soon they're gonna be your competition. You're gonna be touring against them because you're gonna be running similar-sized buildings, and obviously you're gonna run the same markets because those are the markets where your guys have been coming for the last 2 or 3 years. So that's what I think is going on here, and the proof is that these New Japan guys are doing jobs everywhere else in the world.
Right. And if maybe it's not that level of it, but I don't think you're far off on that. I think that is absolutely something that's been in their mind. If you want to say that maybe that's not it, and maybe it's just a case of New Japan saying, hey, we'd prefer these guys not, hey, if possible, we'd prefer these guys not lose. This is our list of guys we don't want to lose or whatever. The onus then is on Ring of Honor to go, sorry, we need to have this guy lose. Sorry, Nakamura has to lose to this guy. You know what I mean? Like, you have to step up. And I'm sure that Ring of Honor, because we know how this relationship is, one way or another, whether the relationship is that New Japan is just using Ring of Honor to launch an American promotion, or if they're just using Ring of Honor to use Ring of Honor, which is a distinct possibility as well. The fact of the matter is they're using Ring of Honor. You know what I mean? And Ring of Honor at no point is saying, no. We're a big company too. We're a big deal. This guy's got to lose. Sorry, I know you don't want him to lose, but if we're going to throw some concessions your way, you have to throw some concessions your way. I'm sure the answer is, oh my God, you're going to bring those guys over and fill up our card? Cool, do whatever you want. Like, that's I'm sure what the conversation is, right? We've seen that in the booking, because like nobody, like, of nothing of substance has happened. And one of the things that I think is, and we were talking about this kind of in our Slack chat in Voices of Wrestling, kind of the staff members, is one thing that's always really got on me is that, okay, you had that first show, the Global Wars and the War of the Worlds or whatever. Yes, if that's a one-time deal, you have guys come in, you have these dream matches, you do these things. Well and good. It's fine, whatever. It's a one-off. It's a few nights. It's out. They're gone or whatever. These guys have come back so many times now, and they haven't developed any stories around these guys coming or these guys coming back or whatever. And that to me is a bigger deal than not even than having them win or lose or whatever. The bigger deal is that you have these guys come in every few months. You have an Okada come in every few months. You got guys like a Tanahashi coming in every few months now. It's not a one-off thing anymore. And yet they stroll in, they pick a match with some random guy, they come in, they win that match, and then they leave. And then that's it. And Ring of Honor has gained absolutely nothing by that. There's been no promo time really given to this guy who's facing Tanahashi or whatever. There's been no real drive that, oh my God, what a big opportunity it is. They're not doing any stories. They're doing like these one-off matches, but you can't do a one-off match like 12 times. And that's what we're at this point now where it's going to be, what, 6 or 7 times that they've had one-off matches with New Japan guys? Like, what are you doing?
Who's winning? I mean, at some point you got to stand up in a meeting and say, look, this guy, whether it's Adam Cole or Jay Lethal or Kyle O'Reilly, I don't give a shit who it is. Pick someone and say, this is the guy we're getting behind, and he's got to beat some of your guys. So let's figure out a long-term plan here. You want to do a program and trade wins? Fine, but my guy's got to win 2 out of 3. You have to do something. And I haven't seen anything to that effect. And it may be that New Japan's sitting in on those meetings, Tiger Hattori, Gato, whoever, okay, are sitting in there and they're just being completely stubborn about it because of this long-term plan. And, but because of the evidence I see elsewhere, that makes it hard to believe for me. I think that they're going in. Look, if someone's going to let you push them around, you're just going to shrug your shoulders and push them around, right?
Why would New Japan? Why would they relent and go, you know what? Hey, yeah, let Adam Cole beat Nakamura. That's fine. You know what I mean? Like, why would they do that? Yeah,
they're just fine by them.
And Ring of Honor is so scared because their business in a lot of ways, and for better or for worse, is being propped up by these shows. We see now there's not one big pay-per-view now that they've had. I mean, there's been one or two, but for the majority of these big pay-per-views, we're seeing it with Death Before Dishonor as well, is loaded up with New Japan guys. So they're so worried about New Japan saying, hey, we're done, we're going to bounce. The problem, though, is that they've been sitting there doing that so long and saying, oh, no, do whatever you guys want, do whatever you guys want, do whatever you guys want, that the time might come, and I think you even alluded to this, not if, but when, that New Japan's just going to say, all right, bye, see ya. And what the hell did Ring of Honor gain by that? After 3 years, you've gained zero.
Nothing.
You've gained absolutely nothing. You've popped a bunch of big houses. You've had a good little run in 3 years, but you've built nothing. If New Japan tomorrow, if New Japan cancels on this Death Before Dishonor, say they pull all these guys and go, you know what? Nah, screw it, guys. We don't care. Ring of Honor's toast. They got nothing out of that. Ever.
It's why I say all the time, this is a situation of penny smart, dollar dumb. Yeah. They certainly capitalized on the short-term money by filling up these buildings and whatnot. But look, the New Japan talent was just in Vegas, right? I mean, now they're coming right back with them. It shows in Vegas, right? It's like, You're coming right, but they just had the New Japan talent in Vegas. We just saw Gato tweeting out that he's at the roulette machine drinking his Diet Coke because he don't drink alcohol. We just saw all that. These guys were just in Vegas and they're coming right back with it. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're going to burn this out. I mean, it's like, and we all see that. Okay, so they chased the short-term money, but they did not think about the long-term at any point here. And whether it's New Japan bullying you or whether it's you just not being assertive and just saying, oh, man, you know what? We just got to keep popping these houses and I got to keep my job and I got to – no matter what it is, it's not good. Because if New Japan is bullying you, then maybe it's time to say, you know what? We got to bite the bullet. Maybe we need to dissolve this relationship because we're not getting anything out of it other than – and now if you pick up your fucking – if the Ring of Honor office picks up their Wrestling Observer newsletter in the last couple of weeks, and they see that Kadani's talking about running 3,000-seat buildings in the United States, which he's not going to be able to fill, by the way. I mean,
oh God, no.
But he's always a big talker. This is a guy that wanted to run dome tours 2 years ago in New Japan when he can't fill one dome, but he wants to run dome tours.
And, what was his number that he wanted for New Japan World too? It was some astronomical like million number, and they got like 1/80th of that right now.
So I mean, he always
of subscribers. Yeah,
has delusions of grandeur. You know what I mean? It's like. Have they drawn 3,000 fans ever, even with Ring of Honor's assistants who have a much stronger fan base and television here already and everything else? I mean, they can't draw that. Okay. I think it'd be a big win if New Japan could fill Hammerstein. And what's that hold? 2,200 or something, about the size of Cork and Hall, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, so it's like, but that's besides the point. The point here is if you're Ring of Honor office and you pick up your Wrestling Observer newsletter last week and you see Kadani talking about touring the United States, doesn't a fucking light bulb go on? You're setting these guys up for this. You're giving them the exposure they need. And the next time they come back to Las Vegas or Chicago or New York, they might do it without you because they might feel they don't need you. Okay? What do they need Adam Cole on the card for if Adam Cole always loses to these guys anyway? Or whoever. What's the difference? Half the guys on your roster work for them anyway. They could come back to all these markets and they can book a Red Dragon and fucking Michael Elgin and
the Bucks
and the Bucks and the Briscoes because they've basically co-opted all those guys and they work for them anyway.
But they won't have Donovan Dijak though, so there.
Yeah, exactly. And
they'll have Cheeseburger though. Cheeseburger will be there.
And except this time when they come back to these markets, ROH's name will be off the marquee. You're not splitting gates or anything else or whatever. I don't know what the deal is with them. And they're just doing it on their own because what the fuck do they need you for? And all those guys just buried everyone on your roster because you couldn't give ACH a win ever. You did it to yourself. You need to stand up at some point a year and a half ago and say, here's what we want to do. We believe in blank, whether it's ACH or Leo Rush. I don't give a fuck who it is. We believe in this guy. So why don't we do something with Kushida? They'll have 3 matches, but we're winning the first and the third. Look, if New Japan doesn't agree to that, they're not in it for a fair and reasonable partnership because it's Kushida. I like Kushida as much as the next guy. He's the junior champ, though. So if they're not willing to to give a concession on something like that, at that point you got to get out and you have to form an exit plan. You just have to. And if you don't think that's true, that they're willing to be Kushida, didn't he just lose to Volador Jr.
He did.
4 days ago?
And didn't Shibata just lose to Zack Sabre Jr. and again, these are good guys. I mean, but it's not like Ring of Honor doesn't have anybody. I mean, that's where you got to stand up because Rev Pro said this is our guy. No, he's winning.
Yeah.
And CML said no, Volador's our guy. He's winning.
And by the way,
that's all it takes.
If you don't think those guys are big enough names to put your guys over, those were both main events. Main events. Yep. Shibata and Kushida, big time matches. Okay, maybe they don't let you beat Okada. Maybe you got to swallow that one, but you could beat these other guys. Stand up and open your mouth. And maybe we're being unfair. We're not sitting there when they're going over this shit. And maybe New Japan is being unreasonable. But then
you got to get out of there. Then you got to go.
You got to have an exit plan, and you got to get the fuck out.
Because you're not benefiting. You're benefiting in no way. Then.
Now you're not exactly. And maybe they do have. Maybe their plan is all right. When these markets do start to go, and maybe that's why they're pounding it home, and they keep bringing them up. They're like, all right, well, let's just fucking pound this thing into the ground until it stops drawing, and then get out. But here's the problem you're doing then. You've just buried your entire roster. This whole thing is a circular issue that has no good ending for Ring of Honor. And honestly, I think it's too late for them. Who would you even pick on that roster?
Yeah, I'm actually on the roster page right now. And
Rich, here's the problem. And I'll let you give it. But here's the problem.
Yeah.
Because anybody halfway decent, New Japan's already using.
That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go through this roster because it's not going to take long to go through the Ring of Honor roster. And I want you to look at these guys. I'm going to list the names, and you just say yes if they have some New Japan connection. Like New Japan would in a hypothetical situation where New Japan says, "Hey, we're going to tour New York and Chicago in America as New Japan." You tell me yes or no if these guys would be booked without any hesitation, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Adam Cole.
Yeah, he's in Bullet Club. He's part of the New Japan roster.
Right. ACH.
Well, he's got one foot in the door. He's working for Bushiroad this month.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right now I'd say no, but this is a big tour for him in Noah. It's kind of a prove yourself tour.
It's a trial run. Yeah, a little trial run.
And I'm not talking in ring. And I'll leave it at that. Go ahead.
Adam Page. Hangman Page.
Yeah, he's getting a tag team title shot. He's on the roster.
Right. Alex Shelley.
Yeah, obviously, yes. He's a guy. He's such an. They're not even booking him anymore. And he was just talking to us today. He wants to be booked. Read our Twitter feed.
Beretta.
Of course, full-time roster member.
Yep. BJ Whitmer. That's fine. You can leave him at home.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. But it's BJ Whitmer. Why do you think they're not booking him? It's BJ Whitmer.
Bobby Fish.
Yeah, full-time roster member.
All right. Cheeseburger.
He's got connections. He's buddies with Liger, and he fucking worked 3 shows in January. If they wanted to, they book him too.
Caprice Coleman is still listed, but didn't we find out that he's not even?
Nah, he's around now and then. He's around now.
Okay.
But they, it's
they're not going to. Chris Sabin.
That's a Ring of Honor guy, I guess.
Yep. Yeah. Christopher Daniels.
I mean, he did a tour last year, but he's a Ring of Honor guy. He's also office now. Well, I don't know if he's office, but we know he's definitely has some sort of agent role.
He's knocking on the door or trying.
And he's an interesting. Well, look, he knows he's pushing 50. And here's a guy, and this is all speculation. Of course, this will go on Reddit as fact. But and here's the speculation on this is, I don't know what side he's on. I don't know if he's Kevin Kelly guy. I don't know if he's a Delirious guy. I asked around. No one seems to have an answer. But he's definitely a guy who's angling for some things. The push is not a mistake. That leads me to believe he's on the Delirious because Delirious is still making the booking decisions, and that team is getting pushed. So as an agent, maybe he's got a little sway with the booker, so maybe he's a Delirious guy. I don't know. But you can't trust saying. I'm sure he's angling for that booker job too. He's a name we heard months ago that might be angling for the booker job. But yeah, he's a Ring of Honor guy, I would say.
Okay, so we got a few there. Colt Cabana.
New Japan. I mean, that guy's been doing Noah tours for 3 years, and New Japan has shown zero interest in him. But here's the thing: he's not loyal to Ring of Honor either.
No, he could give a shit. If the check clears, I think he would be a-okay.
Colt is like the definition of a freelancer. Like he just, if
you give him a table, if you give him a merch table, he will be there.
Absolutely.
So I have no doubt that he would do it. So right now we're at BJ Whitmer and Christopher Daniels and Chris Sabin, I think, so far. So. I'm not mentioning like referees or ring announcers, which I think is fine. Kerry Silkin, he's on the ROH roster. He'll probably stay loyal, you think?
And if the show is good, he'll be in the lobby shaking hands. If the show is not good, you can't find him with a search party. That was the running joke with Kerry Silkin back 10 years ago. Okay.
Oh, yeah. How many? I've shook that guy's hand like 10 times.
Only when the show's good. If the show was a letdown, you couldn't find the guy. The other thing with Kerry Silkin, there's another thing we used to notice all the time, too. Every time there was like a great match, right? And it popped everybody and everyone's going nuts. Some Bryan Danielson match or something. Here comes Silk and swagger walking from the back, puffing his chest, right? And then there's some like shit match. And again, the guy, you can't find him. He's fucking missing. But as soon as there was like an awesome match, oh man, is he strutting. He's strutting.
That Hawaiian shirt is flowing in the air.
With his suit jacket with the patches on the elbow. And then he's just plopping down at that fucking timekeeper table next to the guy with the curly mustache. Okay. That was Carrie's game. But you couldn't find that dude if a match stunk. I like Kerry Silkin, though. I don't know why I'm...
Yeah, no. Good guy. Yeah. Talked to him many times. Dalton Castle.
Look, I'm going to call him a Ring of Honor guy, but he's clearly a guy who New Japan has had their eyes on. And you got to be careful,
Delirious, I think we probably put him. Donovan Dijak, as mentioned, he's probably pretty loyal. Frankie Kazarian.
Yeah, Ring of Honor guy.
Yep. Hanson.
Ring of Honor guy.
All right, now we get back. Jay Briscoe.
He's
the man who enjoys his.
He's a New Japan Tag Team Champion now. So
right,
and look, he's Ring of Honor through and through. You would think, but that's a guy that they would most certainly book, especially if he was one of their champions. Now, here's the thing: if they run these tours, is Ring of Honor going to invoke some sort of clause to like stop these? I would think they would stop some of these guys from working the shows, but some of them they can't because they have New Japan contracts as well.
Mm-hmm. Jay Lethal's another one that probably, maybe then that would be the interesting thing if they say, hey, no, you can't do that. But he would certainly get a call.
Los Ingobernables, Japan, Jay Lethal.
Mm-hmm. Joey Tediego, I think they can have him. I don't think New Japan cares. They want the former Jay Diesel.
I don't think anybody wants the former Jay Diesel.
Okay. Kenny King. That's a Ring of Honor guy.
Yeah.
Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah, obviously a New Japan full-timer.
Yep.
Can't even stop
Leo
him
Rush.
from working. I don't think you can.
Yeah, no. Leo Rush.
Ring of Honor.
Of course, he's a Ring of Honor guy. Mark Briscoe, similar to Jay Briscoe. I'm sure he would be willing to do it. Matt Jackson, of course.
Yeah, obviously they're New Japan guys.
Yep. Matt Sydal.
Yep, New Japan guy.
Matt Taven's an interesting one because he's done a little bit.
I call him a Ring of Honor guy, though, and I don't think he has a New Japan contract either. So
right. Michael Elgin, I mean, obviously,
he's
of course.
100%. He has a full-time contract with New Japan, and He actually has flat out said that I'm not a Ring of Honor guy anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a Nick Jackson, of course, the other Buck. Ray Rowe, Ring of Honor guy. Rhett Titus, Ring of Honor guy. Rocky Romero, I mean, come on. That's Roger Strong's still listed, but of course, I don't think he will be there, so you don't have to worry about that. Silas Young, obviously a Ring of Honor guy. Will Ferreira, that's our last one. So we got Will Ferreira, Ring of Honor guy. So
And
basically,
just to note, Ray Rowe and Hansen did work for Noah.
they did. So
But would still call them Ring of Honor guys. Obviously.
So we got, by my count, we got BJ Whitmer, Chris Sabin, Christopher Daniels, Hanson, Rowe, Kenny King, Jay Diesel, Donovan Dijak, Leo Rush, and Rhett Titus, and Silas Young.
And of the guys that we named,
Will Ferreira.
and of the
Who,
guys,
of course, will be defeating Okada on the next Death Before Dishonor show. Will be Will Ferreira, of course.
and of the guys we named who are more closely associated or could be associated with New Japan, a good chunk of them are under New Japan contract, and I don't think Ring of Honor could stop them from working for New Japan unless there's language in their deals, and who knows if they had this kind of foresight that says if you work in America, you can't work for a competing company, whether you're under contract with them or not. I don't even know if that's something like that would even be enforceable.
Mm-hmm.
So, it could get ugly at some point. As you can see, there's many avenues this can take where it does get ugly.
It'll be interesting to see how it goes in the next few whiles. So, ready for questions. Do you have anything else on Ring of